Imagine stepping back in time. It's New York City, 1900. About 3.4 million people call it home. Horses clatter on cobblestone streets, and the tallest building? Well, it's only about 20-something stories high. Now, fast forward. Picture that same spot, but today, a skyline that scrapes the clouds, a vibrant chorus of 8.8 million voices speaking 200 different languages, and a subway system zipping millions around every single day. This isn't some fantasy novel, it's the real story of New York City, what it was, and the incredible metropolis it became by 2022. This is a city not just built, but one that's been continually, astonishingly, reborn. So, the 20th century kicks off, and New York City is a place just buzzing with potential. Only 2 years before, in 1898, the five boroughs as we know them, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, officially came together. Bam! The geographic footprint of modern New York City was created. The population was already a hefty 3.4 million, and growing fast thanks to waves of immigrants arriving with dreams of new lives and big opportunities. You could feel the energy in the air, that raw ambition. Sure, horse-drawn carriages were still the main way to get around, but you could hear the first rumbles of a new mechanical age. The skyline? Impressive for its day, no doubt, but still a modest collection of buildings. The steel and glass giants that would later define it were still just a dream. This New York was a city of gaslight and early electricity, of busy ports and crowded tenements. It was a place where fortunes were being made, and the very idea of a modern city was taking shape. This is the story of its incredible transformation over 122 years. A journey from a rapidly industrializing center to a true global powerhouse. Those first few decades of the 20th century, they were absolutely revolutionary for New York. The city's population just exploded, mainly because of a massive influx of immigrants from Europe, Italians, Irish, Eastern Europeans, all weaving their cultures into the city's neighborhoods. By the middle of the century, the population would more than double. You could literally see the change happening. It was a race to the heavens. The whole idea of the skyscraper was being born and perfected right here. The Flatiron Building, that elegantly slender icon, went up in 1902 and became famous almost overnight. Soon it had company, the grand, neo-Gothic Woolworth Building in 1912, which for a time was the world's tallest, and the Singer Building in 1908. Each one seemed to be reaching higher, a symbol of the city's sky-high ambitions. These weren't just office blocks, they were bold statements about a new era, but a city growing upwards also had to connect its sprawling boroughs. And the solution? It was underground. In 1904, the New York City subway opened its first line. Think about that. It was a game changer, fundamentally altering how New Yorkers lived and worked. An engineering marvel, it shrank distances and helped areas once considered far-flung to develop rapidly. And above ground, mighty bridges were stitching the boroughs together. The Williamsburg Bridge opened in 1903, a crucial new link. Later in this early period, but just as important, structures like the majestic George Washington Bridge, finished in 1931, would further strengthen these vital connections. Culturally, New York was really stepping onto the world stage. Broadway's theater district, it blossomed into place for entertainment known worldwide. The magnificent main branch of the New York Public Library opened its doors in 1911, a true temple of knowledge for a city that was hungry for it. And down in the financial canyons of Lower Manhattan, Wall Street was cementing its role as the nerve center of global finance. Events like the Panic of 1907 and the banking reforms that followed only accelerated this. But all this rapid growth came with serious growing pains. Overcrowded tenements, tough working conditions, and public health scares led to loud calls for social reform. It was the beginning of a long, hard look at how to manage life in such a complex, booming city. The middle of the 20th century really put New York to the test. There were profound trials, but also remarkable triumphs and an absolute explosion of cultural energy. The Great Depression, of course, cast a long, dark shadow, hitting the city incredibly hard. Yet, even in those tough years, New York somehow remained a beacon of commerce and culture. Massive public works projects, some simply born out of the need to get people working, began to reshape the city, leaving a lasting legacy of infrastructure. Then came the post-World War II era, and with it, a period of boom and major demographic shifts. New waves of migration brought African Americans from the South and Puerto Ricans, adding even more threads to the city's diverse tapestry. By 1950, the population hit what was then its peak, nearly 8 million people. And while some folks started moving out to the new suburbs springing up outside the five boroughs, the city core stayed vibrant and packed. The skyline kept on climbing too, with new architectural giants like the sleek United Nations headquarters, completed in 1952, a clear symbol of the city's growing international importance. This was also the era of controversial, but undeniably impactful, urban renewal projects. Robert Moses, a truly formidable figure, often led these. Highways and public housing projects were built on a massive scale. The goal was to modernize the city, but it often came at a high cost, displacing established communities and changing the very character of neighborhoods. Culturally, New York was arguably the capital of the world. The Harlem Renaissance, which had planted its seeds in the 1920s, continued to flower, deeply influencing American culture. Bebop jazz was turning music upside down in smoky clubs, abstract expressionism was redefining the art world, and later in this period, the raw, rebellious energy of punk rock would find its voice in downtown Manhattan. The city's renowned universities and powerful media industries thrived, cementing its status as a true world city, a place where ideas were born and spread across the globe. The late 20th century threw some of its toughest punches at New York. It was a period that pushed the city to its limits but, in the end, really showed off its incredible ability to reinvent itself. The 1970s? They were a particularly rough decade. A serious fiscal crisis had the city teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Crime rates shot up, and a feeling of urban decay seemed to hang over parts of the metropolis. For a while, images of gritty streets and graffiti-covered subway cars became what many people thought of when they pictured New York. But even with all those struggles, the city's built-in energy never really died. Grassroots activism took off, with communities organizing to protect their neighborhoods and demand real change. And culturally, New York was still an undeniable hotbed of innovation. The original Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, finished in 1973, stood as these monumental statements of the city's economic ambitions, dramatically reshaping the lower Manhattan skyline. And then, out of the Bronx, a whole new cultural force exploded onto the scene: hip-hop. It was this vibrant mix of music, dance, and art straight from the streets, and it would go on to conquer the world. The punk rock scene, which had been simmering since mid-century, also hit its influential peak, centered around iconic downtown music venues. The 1980s and 90s were all about recovery and transformation. The city's economy started to bounce back, partly thanks to a resurgent Wall Street and a significant real estate boom. Crime rates, which had been such a huge worry, began a major downturn, bringing back a sense of optimism and safety. New industries, especially in tech and media, started to put down roots and grow, giving the city's economy more legs to stand on beyond its traditional strengths. This era was really about tackling those deep-seated problems head-on and setting the stage for the globalized, revitalized New York that was ready to step into the 21st century. This whole journey through New York's past is just packed with incredible stories of change and sheer grit, isn't it? If you're finding this story of transformation as fascinating as we do us a favor and hit that like button. And hey, why not subscribe for more explorations into the histories of iconic cities and major events? What part of New York's transformation blows your mind the most so far? Let us know down in the comments. As the new millennium kicked off, New York City was really cementing its status as a global superstar. But this era would also be defined by unimaginable tragedy and, yet again, remarkable resilience. The city's population kept on growing, bouncing back to hit over 8.8 million by 2020. This growth was powered by ongoing immigration from every corner of the globe, especially from Asia and Latin America. It made New York's claim as one of the most diverse cities on Earth even stronger, a place where you can hear over 200 languages spoken. But this period also saw gentrification making a bigger impact across many neighborhoods. It brought new investment and cool new amenities for sure, but it also sparked serious worries about affordability and whether longtime residents were being pushed out. Then on September 11, 2001, the city and the entire world changed forever. The terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center led to the tragic loss of thousands of lives and the destruction of those iconic Twin Towers. The physical and emotional scars were just immense. Yet in the face of such horror, New York showed an incredible spirit of unity and strength. The determination to rebuild was instant and absolute. It culminated in the completion of One World Trade Center in 2014, a truly poignant symbol of remembrance and defiance that reshaped the skyline once more. The 21st century also brought new architectural landmarks that kept redefining how the city looked. There were ambitious projects like Hudson Yards, a massive new neighborhood literally built over a working rail yard, and a new generation of super-tall residential skyscrapers, sometimes called pencil towers, that really pushed the limits of engineering and luxury. Alongside all this new construction, efforts to preserve historic landmarks also gained more steam, protecting the city's rich past. New York kept navigating major global events that really tested its social and economic strength. There was the 2008 financial crisis, which actually started right in its own financial heart, and then the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, which hit the city incredibly hard. Each crisis brought enormous challenges, but each time, it also sparked adaptation and innovation. Despite these shocks, New York held its ground as a dominant global hub for finance, media, fashion, technology, and the arts. In more recent years, we've seen even more evolution, big infrastructure projects like improvements to JFK Airport, and a continued focus on creating more housing, including really innovative ideas like converting office buildings into residential spaces. The city is also getting serious about climate change, with projects to build resilience and a big push towards a greener economy. So, from the horse-drawn carriages and early skyscrapers of 1900 to the dynamic, super-connected global hub of 2022, New York City's transformation has been, well, epic. It's as simple as that. Over 122 years, its population more than doubled, its skyline reached for heights that once seemed impossible, and its culture became this vibrant, incredible mosaic reflecting the entire world. It built a pioneering subway system that became its very lifeblood, it weathered economic depressions and devastating attacks, and it just constantly, relentlessly, reinvented itself. What makes New York a global powerhouse today? It's not just its economic muscle or its towering buildings. It's something more. It's the coming together of millions of dreams, the non-stop energy of its streets, the incredible diversity of its people, and its unique knack for absorbing, adapting, and innovating. This is a city that has stared down financial ruin, unimaginable tragedy, and huge social shifts, yet it always seems to emerge as a symbol of resilience and aspiration. The New York of 2022 was a living monument to over a century of human effort, a city forever changing, forever reaching for what's next. Its story is truly a continuous epic of transformation. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through New York City's epic century of change. Honestly, we've only just scratched the surface of the countless stories this amazing city holds. Which era of New York's history do you find the most fascinating? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into the monumental stories that shape our world. Until next time, keep exploring.